So for this session, I'm going to demonstrate three sequences, three yoga flow sequences from a book called Happiness Beyond Thought. So this is a book that was written a few years ago by a guy called Gary Weber or Gary Weber, never quite know. And he's an enlightened individual. He's gone beyond the mind. So he's achieved union, which is what yoga means. And he's used this sequence or these sequences as part of that because most people come into yoga thinking it's all about the postures and then they just stop there. But he's gone beyond that. And what these sequences do is once you get into them, you'll be able to start to use some kind of inquiry meditation. You know, who am I? Where am I? So as you breathe in, it's who am I? As you exhale, just release any, let the brain trying to work it out. And it's a bit like these questions. They're not answerable by the intellect. It's supposed to stall the egoic mind. And so these are the three sequences from the book, and so there's they're actually written in the book as little stick drawings. You can see that, some stick drawings, and so they are open to interpretation. So this is my version of them. So let's give this a go without further ado. So this is Vinyasa 1 from Gary Weber's book, Happiness Beyond Thought. So it's kind of, it's a little standing flow sequence, which involves standing in Tadasana, then coming to a simple Trikonasana posture, then coming into Warrior 1, and then down into this forward bend, which is like a bit of a Parsvottanasana type of vibe about it. And then we're gonna repeat that. We're gonna repeat that on both sides. So let's see how we get on with this. So the best thing to do is I find is that we're gonna stand on one end of the mat because we are gonna step back. So for this, first of all, and I'm going to turn around in a second so you can see me, but first of all, I quite like to stand with the hands in this prayer position. So just allowing the body to settle a little bit. So, and you can close the eyes maybe once you get into this. So the first thing we're going to do is maybe having your eyes closed isn't good at first when you're trying to follow. So open them if you need to. And so first thing we're going to do is going to breathe. We're going to open up the chest. Open up. And it's a bit like a sun salutation to start with, but then we're just in as much as we're going to fold forward. And then bend the knees to come up, and then all the way up. And open the chest. So opening up through the chest. And then let's fold forward again. So we're just going to do this 3 times, this movement. So as we open the body, we're inhaling, and that's maybe where you can ask that question, who am I? And then release down as you exhale. And then just breathe in. So you can do this as many times as you like. It's quite nice in the morning to release into this. And then from there, you step back with the right foot. So the right foot comes back as far back as it'll go. Open up the chest, bend in that right knee, right foot out to the side, onto the ball of the left foot, left heel back, and then exhale. So coming into this very simple Trikonasana posture. Open, palm facing forward. And then from there, we're going to come into Warrior 1. So the way I like to do it is I just like to bend that front knee at first, coming onto the fingertips, just hopping slightly that back foot out to the side, keeping that front knee bent, and then coming into Warrior 1 like this. So the trick is with any warrior postures, is just make sure that the knee doesn't come beyond the ankle, because it'll get too much stress in the knee joint. So if it does, then just walking that foot forward slightly. So you can hold that for a few breaths. And every in-breath, it's this inquiry: who am I? Where am I? Who is doing this posture? And then from there, we're just going to fold forward. And again, just maybe making some adjustments with that back foot, and then folding into this front leg. And the trick is, so it's a right foot forward, so that's that right sitting bone is pushing back. The left hip is moving forward. Fingertips are on the ground, and you might need a block maybe, so it's quite strong on that front leg. Bending that front knee to come out, and then coming all the way up. And then we're going to move over to the other side. So wide feet again, bending that left foot, left knee, left foot out to the side, ball of the right foot, right heel back, and then we're going to come into our Trikonasana on the other side, on the left side. So do be supported. Really nice open in the chest. Every inhalation, make that inquiry, whatever inquiries are available to you. And I will list them, the recommended ones, suggested ones by Gary Weber. Or is it Gary Weber? Please do let me know. 1B must be Weber. So we hold this for about 5 breaths, 3 to 5 breaths, whatever suits you. Finding your own way in any of this thing, any of these postures. And then from there, release down, fingertips down, and then just hopping that back foot out to the side slightly, making that adjustment, bending that front knee, coming up into this warrior one. So you can make it as strong as you like. Hips facing forward, the same direction as the chest. Being strong on that back leg. Maybe even looking towards the hands. Inhale. Who am I? Exhale. Going to release down. Making any just little adjustments with that back foot. Folding into that front leg. So left foot forward. So left sitting bone pressing back. Right hip moving forward. Every inhalation, asking that question. Every exhalation, just release. And once you've done that for a few breaths, bending that front knee, and then stepping forward, and then engaging the glutes, the thighs, pelvic floor, lower abdomen, coming all the way back up. Open. And then release. So hopefully you've sort of got into that sequence there. So we're gonna repeat it again. So let's come to the front of the mat, but we'll just hold it for 1 breath each. We'll just flow through this now. So 1 posture each. So we're gonna breathe in, open the chest, lifting through the sternum, folding forward. Gonna breathe in, lift, and then step back with that right foot. Bending that right knee, right foot out to the side, ball of the left foot, left heel back, and then we're gonna come into Trikonasana. And then windmilling that arm down, coming into this warrior one posture, making any adjustments. Open. Who am I? And then close down. Parsvottanasana, legs. There, just really straighten that right leg, right sitting bone moving back. Bending that front knee, coming all the way up. Just feet come parallel. And then left foot comes out to the side, right heel comes back, and then Trikonasana on that other side. And then release down, making any adjustments with that back foot as required, depending on how your body is. Warrior one. And exhale, floating forward. Parsvottanasana legs. And then just hopping forward with that back leg. Breathing in. And then releasing back to where we started. So that is sequence one from Gary Weber's book, Happiness Beyond Thought. I'm going to move to sequence two now. So the sequence two and sequence three are all done on the floor, and in a yoga class, I quite like to use this first sequence. That sequence two, I quite like to use sequence two. Right at the beginning of a session, it just feels the right thing to do, and then move to sequence one, and then at the very end of a practice, as a sort of closing little sequences before we go into the final relaxation, I quite like to use sequence three. So, yoga's like that, isn't it? You can mix and match and use it however you want to. There's no hard and fast rules. It's about getting beyond concepts after all, isn't it? So let's just release down. So we start off in this child's pose, and you can either have the forehead stacked on the fists, or the forehead on the ground, depending on how flexible you're feeling. So for today, I'm just going to put my forehead down onto my stacked fists so you can see me and hear me. But the main thing is to sit back down onto the heels. And then what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in and lift. So lift and pressing the hips forward. And some people find that this isn't good for their blood pressure. If you've got low blood pressure, this isn't great. So mind how you go with this. So we open and then release down. And in the book, classically, the hands are by the feet, if that's okay with you. And then just breathe, open, pressing the hips forward. So it's a real heart opener and a hip opener at the front. And then release. And then breathing in. So it's that inquiry, isn't it? That who am I? Or where am I? What am I? And then after the third opening, we then just come down onto all fours and come straight into this cat-cow tilt. So just breathing in, lifting the sitting bones, lifting the chest. And exhale as you arch the back. So again, it's up to you to decide how you want to do this. Just as long as you do this with sincerity. And then back comes into a neutral position, and it's downward facing dog. So downward facing dog. And it gets quite strong, actually, this next little section of this sequence, because we're in downward facing dog. And just be careful with this, depending on how your back is feeling, because then we come into upward facing dog. And then we're going to come back into downward facing dog. And the inquiry is made, as always, on the inhalation, and leave the exhalation for the mind to become blank and to puzzle through this inquiry. So you can do this upward and downward dog a few times, or just once each, and then release. And then just doing a little cat-cow stretch. Open. And then coming all the way back down into this, how we started. So into this child's pose, either the hands by the side of the feet or the fists stacked and supporting the forehead. So let's just go through this sequence once more. So we're going to breathe in and exhale. We're going to breathe in, open the chest, pressing those hips forward, and then release, arching the back. Breathing in, lift, and then coming into downward facing dog. And just breathe, open the chest, this upward facing dog, and then downward facing dog. And then release, and then back into child's pose. So that is sequence 2 from the Happiness Beyond Thought book. And then we're going to come now on to sequence 3. And sequence 3 is actually it's one of my favorite ways to finish a yoga session at the moment. It's quite strong. I quite like strong postures. Because if you really put the body under the deliberate tension, tension in a good way, by the way, then it really helps it to relax. And so people have some great relaxations after this. So it's the kind of thing I would use at the end of a session. And so we're going to start. So essentially, I'm going to start in the sitting nice and tall. So lifting up and essentially we're going to breathe in, coming up and feel that chest really opening and the thighs are engaged, maybe even the heels are lifted off the ground. And then we fold forward. So wherever the hands land, whether it's the shins, what they called heels, the feet, wherever they land, where it's comfortable for you. So we're in a forward bend. And then as you breathe in, you bring the hands back, fingertips facing forward, and then lift. So this reverse plank. Oh my word, this is a good one. This is a good posture. So again, lifting from the hips. A lot of people are down here, but really pressing those hips up, pointing those feet, those toes down. Sometimes you can get cramp there if you're susceptible. Then bending the knees, bringing the feet in, and then we're going to come into reverse tabletop. And you can see that my fingertips are facing forward, and then release. And then we're going to come into this assisted Navasana. Oh my word, this is really getting to be top-notch yoga stuff. And then we release down and come back to where we started. So let's breathe. So the breathe and the inquiry, who am I? And then we fold forward. We bring the hands back, fingers forward. As you come into reverse plank. And release. Then to reverse tabletop. And release. And then lift into assisted Navasana. The most evil of yoga postures, as far as I'm concerned. And then release. Let's just do that once more because it was so good. So breathing in, lifting and lengthening. And then folding forward. Breathing in, hands come back, fingers pointing forward, lift into reverse plank, pointing those toes, lifting the hips. And release. Reverse tabletop with the knees bent, pressing up. So we're not down there with the hips, we're really pressing the hips up, and you can hold it for as long as you like. And then release. And then we're going to come into Navasana. And if you're crazy enough, then you can bring those hands forward and it turns into really the most evil of the postures as far as I'm concerned. But what does it matter? What does it matter what I think? What do you think? So, and then release. And then the best bit really is relax. And so just using this time to relax and release through the body. Just enjoying the sensation, being aware of the breath, being aware of the heartbeat, the heat that's generated. Whatever experience you've got right now, just simply tune into it, tune into that experience. So just breathing in, breathing out, starting to control the breath now. Just allowing it to be long and smooth. So controlling the breath, controlling the heart rate, bringing it back. And hopefully the body will feel a little bit more open. And hopefully the mind as well will feel a little bit more open. Maybe you've changed your state slightly after doing that practice. So yeah, so that was the 3 vinyasa sequences. I call vinyasa sequences, flow sequences. Don't know all these yoga terms are about half the time. It's beyond me. So 3 flow sequences, and from Gary Weaver's book, Happiness Beyond Thoughts, and really nice to do either together or just slotting them into your own practice, into your own teaching. As I say, I quite like to do sequence 2 first if I'm doing a yoga class. Then towards the end, I would do sequence 3 just before the final relaxation. And then sequence 2 is something that you can easily see how that could slide into a sun salutation type sequence. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that today. Hope you've learned something. I'd recommend having a quick look at that book. It's an interesting read. How his journey, his experimental journey to liberation, moksha, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, beyond thought, really. So it's worth a go. And over the next weeks and months, I'm going to be producing more videos where we're going to do some posture work, we're going to do some meditations. I'm quite into the chakras right now. Maybe even I'll sprinkle in a little bit of shamanic work, which is also something I do, but don't tell anybody. It's a bit weird. And then and some spiritual stuff as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the session. There's another one waiting for you somewhere on this screen. If you click the button, it's going to be a guided meditation, which is designed just for after this particular session. Namaste.